Hi everybody! Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Cheryl Jennison DeProza and we are coming to you live from Flashpoint Chicago, Studio 505. And we're going to be giving you some great tips and tricks for lavalier microphones for theater. So we've got a lot of great information today. We are live, so please feel free to type in any comments and questions you have. There is a little bit of delay, so be a little bit patient when you enter those in, but please give us your questions and we're going to give them to them in real time and get you some great answers. So without further ado, let's get this thing going. Take it away, guys.
Thank you, Cheryl. Hi, guys. I'm John Bourne. I'm a product manager at Shure, and I specialize in making new microphones for the market, and we're going to be focused on a few products today, one of them being TwinPlex microphones, which is a new lavalier and headset portfolio we just released. And also we'll be using Axient Digital, which is our high-tier wireless system, and the new ADX 1M micro body pack. And those are some of the tools we'll be using today. But before we use those tools, I want to introduce you to all these wonderful people who are going to take us through the day in terms of how to make audio for theater. So Ray, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Ray Nardelli. I'm a sound designer in theater.
I'm Stephanie Farina. I'm a A1, which is an audio mixer for musical theater, and I'm also an A2, which is the person who backstage rigs up and deals with the actors.
We also have Amanda on the end here. She's our wonderful talent at being the actress, a real live actress as well. And she's going to be, we'll be using her to rig up all the mics. So let's first talk about why is audio important for theater? Like, why do we need audio?
Well, we need audio, but we also need really pristine, clean audio. And clarity sort of in musical theater is sort of paramount. It's really important. We get all the information of the plot and the characters' emotions and basically the whole story through the dialogue and especially the lyrics in a show. So we have to understand what they're talking about and what they're singing about to understand the show. So in order for that, we need to really have a great deal of care and concern put about mic placement.
Yep.
Lav placement's critical.
And obviously you need to have good tools at your disposal in terms of microphones and wireless, but arguably the most important thing of all those things, even if you have great wireless and great microphones, putting the microphone on the actor or the actress and putting it consistently in the right spot is important. And that's something we talked about too before, was consistency of that.
Right. Yeah, placement is critical because if it's the wrong placement, then sort of that's the beginning of the audio chain. Everything past that, if it's not correct, is compromised. You know, so you want to have, if without proper placement, you're going to have maybe dull audio, you're going to have feedback issues and stuff like that. Consistency is key because with how many actors there might be in a show, you could have like an ensemble of 20 people, trying to hunt down someone's bad placement is really difficult within a show. It really can mess up the mixer's ability to provide a good mix for the show. They'll bring the mic up, and if it's not in the right place, they'll undershoot. You'll miss the first couple of words, and their job is so critical and busy. They're focused on getting the actors' mics up in time, getting the band levels correct, getting the sound effects, going in the right place. So without that, that consistency, they don't have time to track down everyone's mics and re-EQ them during the show. It's just too difficult. Also, consistency is key because once the show gets started, it's difficult at times with certain actors. They're busy all the time. They might be going through many quick changes backstage. So trying to hunt them down and correct their mic placement, it's possible, but it can be difficult.
So we're going to talk about a couple rigs today. One being a head rig. So a typical forehead placement on your forehead. And Steffi's going to take us through that, and then you're going to take us through the ear rig, correct?
Yeah. So as my job as an A2 and as an A1 is to make sure that from opening night, when like Ray has the design as he wants it, it is consistent. So that's with consistent mic placement. It sounds the same it did opening night that it does on closing night 2, 3, 4, 5 a year later, whatever it is. sounds the same. It sounds very similar. It's his design. So with that, we have some tools we use, and a lot of our stuff is with preparation. So if we prep things properly, then during the course of the run, that becomes easier for us. And we can keep things consistent, because if we do good preparation, things aren't breaking, things aren't moving. The way to keep the show going and sounding its best is with good preparation. So that's what we're going to talk about.
And of those tools, we're going to take you through some of the tools we're going to be using today, so we can kind of get that out of the way, and so you're not asking questions about what is that cool thing you're using. So let's talk about some of those tools. The first one being tapes.
Sure. I'm going to run over here.
Yeah.
So a few tapes that we use. One of them being, so this is kind of the most common one. It's made by 3M. It's called Transpore. You can get it at any medical, okay, first, most of these tapes we use are all medical supplies. We steal them from the, medical community. All of this stuff, none of it is actually meant for us, right? We take things from other trades they use and make it adapt for what we need. So anyway, this you can pick up at any drugstore, any kind of medical supply store. It's 3M Transpore. What's great is it works on most people. You take it, you can easily just rip it off. It's super simple. So that's kind of the most generic type of tape, right? Our second kind that I'm going to go over is this, called Tegaderm. Tegaderm is great because these actors are wearing this tape on their body day in, day out. Sometimes they're putting it on and off 2 times a day. It can get really daunting. Some people have all sorts of different kinds of sensitive skin. So Tegaderm is great for people with more sensitive skin. It also, on top of that, regardless, is the most effective that I found to attach ear rigs, which we'll talk about later. So Tegaderm is another, also made by 3M. I prefer this size of Tegaderm. It's 1.25 inches by 1.25 inches. That size is the best because it's just the right size to fit right behind the ear. There's also a different type of Tegaderm that comes in a roll. And what I use this for is, again, not for ear rigs, but people with sensitive skin. I can cut off strips, and I can put it on the back of their neck for mic tape. So then the relationship between the sound tech and the actor is really, really important, because they need to be able to trust you that you're going to make them sound good, and also trust you that what you're giving them is not going to hurt them. So if they do complain about sensitivity, it's not them just, being an actor. It literally is like they have to wear this stuff and do their craft with this stuff on them. So it's a really relationship you want to kind of develop and build. So.
And also, before you use the tape, you also might want to prep the skin as well.
Yes. So there is this stuff called SkinPrep. SkinPrep, what it does is it takes all of the oils off the skin, again, used in the medical community, where it's really for like IVs and those kind of things. So it opens up really easily. You take it off, and it keeps the skin. You can put it on, you let it dry, and it makes the skin, once it's dry, obviously it's wet right now, but once it's dry, it takes the oils off and makes the skin actually sticky. You know when it's dry because you'll actually feel the stick, and it makes the tape adhere to it really well. Actors sweat a lot, so again, what I was saying about preparation, if you prep the skin properly, the tape will stick better, which then, like the sweat, the tape won't come off as easy. That's the hope with the prepping the skin properly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's talk about clips and cords.
Clips and cords. So, an ear clip. This is one I've already bent. We're going to show you in a little bit how I actually bend it. But the wire I use comes like this. It's called Milliner Wire. Milliner being, it's usually for hats. So hat makers use it to make hats malleable. We like it because it is bendable, but also it stays in place. So going back to the thing Ray was saying about consistency, I'm not having to rebend this every day for the actor. Once I shape it to them, unless you make some effort, it's going to stay like in that shape, and it's going to fit nice on their ear. We like the ones with the cloth because we're going to get into a little later for disguising the mics. We use markers and sometimes paint, but the cloth accepts the marker better, and so we can do it the skin tone of the actor. Another wire we have. This is also Floral Wire, used for florists use it, hence Floral Wire. It's used in the real world to wrap around flowers and in arrangements, make them be able to be adjusted. In our world, we use it a very similar way. So it goes, I'll show you later, it attaches to the mic and it allows me to make the tip of the mic directional. Again, going back to that consistency of placement. If I have it without it, it could very easily shift, and it sounds silly, but even the shift of like a 1/2 inch, when I'm mixing, it's gonna sound different to me, and it's gonna mess up my throw and my mix. when I don't really have time to focus on that. So if I can get it where it's going to be consistently in the same place every time, that's what I want, and that's why this is helpful.
And then Tibay Clips and
Tibay Clips.
cord. Yeah.
So Tibay Clips is, these are literally Tibay Clips. They are meant to put toupees on people's heads. Again, we steal it for us. It works when we do the head mount rig, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. It allows the mic to be attached to it. We attach elastic. You can get this in any arts and crafts store. So this you can get in any arts and crafts store. Tibay Clips are a little bit harder to find. I usually can find them on eBay or some online retailer. You can buy them. They come in different sizes. This one is, they actually come in small, medium, large, extra large. For audio, I find the large and extra large not that useful, but the medium and the small are super, super useful for us. The medium is usually good for women with like longer hair like Amanda. The small can be better for guys with shorter hair because you want to disguise it a little better. So yeah, those are the two different sizes.
And you'll take us through how that wire gets attached onto that.
100%, yep. And then also another part of that is this elastic. You can buy this, again, in any arts and crafts store. You want to make sure you get one that isn't too thin. You can get ones that, like you were saying, they make like jewelry and bracelets out of.
Yeah, they're like you go into used for jewelry and stuff. But they need to have an elastic pull to them. If they don't have enough give, you don't want to use them.
I've seen other people in the past use like thread. Not usually the best because, like anything, when it gets too taut, it can become a sharp edge, and then you're cutting into the mic, which these mics can, it's a purchase. So you want to kind of make these mics last as long as you can make them last.
The thread also needs a lot more maintenance.
Yes.
Usually you can set these Tibay Clips up and they'll last for the entire run.
Exactly. There is a chance where you may have to maintenance them, but again, I will show you later ways to make them so that the maintenance is kept to a minimum.
Yeah.
What's that scary blue tool?
It's not a torture device, I promise. So this is called a Hellerman Tool. Again, it's used somewhere in the medical community. I don't know what it's used for. I tried to look it up at one point. I couldn't really get an answer. But it is a medical tool. Oh, and it just broke a little bit. Stand by. There we go. Actually, that's a really cool thing to show. So normally when you get these tools, they come without these prongs attached, right? So they come with these nuts and this not attached because you can do different dies. This one, it's turning on us, so it's a great thing to show. If that ever happens, you can literally just tighten down these nuts in the back, and it allows it to kind of get tighter. So we use these, so there's a little tip. We use these with these things called a Hellerman Sleeve. This Hellerman Sleeve is like a rubber band, essentially. So we use the Hellerman Sleeve to rubber band or attach the mics to the ear rig, and I promise I'll show you how to do this, as such. So this is a way that we can attach it. You could, in theory, use tape, sure. But again, we're talking about longevity of the run. And in longevity of the run, a rubber band type of thing would be way better than tape that can come off and the adhesive go away. So it
doesn't also get gunked up.
Exactly.
Tape, like the residue, it starts to fall apart.
Yeah. And you want and these go through a lot of vigorous things. There's a lot of times there's actors dancing and flipping, and especially in musical theater, they're asking them to do these crazy, insane things. And so we want to make sure it's something that they will feel secure in, and this is what I feel secure.
And you can get that online.
Yes,
Hellerman
Hellerman Tool and the sleeve. You can get them online. Just know the Hellerman Tool, it's not, when you look at the price, you're going to be like, really, for that? It's not $1 million, but it's not the cheapest tool, but it is definitely one of the most important tools I have in my kit. Yeah. So it's something you buy once and you just have, and it is invaluable.
You'll use it every show.
Every show.
Yeah.
Talk about some paints and the pens you guys use.
Okay, so this is later on in the process, right? Normally in theater, we go through, so we have load in, and then we have our tech process, which lasts about a week, and then we have previews, which lasts about a week. So further into tech, because a lot of times you have to interface with wardrobe, and the actor's hair might change, things might change. You want to wait till things are kind of settled, right? So okay, Amanda's hair is going to be this color. We locked it in. That's the color it's going to be. So from any art supply store, you can buy these Coptic markers. And why it's important that they are Coptic is that they do not rub off easily. You can use other brands of markers, but like Sharpies and stuff, but they will rub off. And usually wardrobe isn't too happy with you when your markers get on their wardrobe.
You don't want to use Sharpies.
Do not want to use Sharpies because it'll come off on the actor's skin, it'll come off on the actor's shirt. It's just not a good thing. Coptic is known not, at least in my experience, to not come off. Again, any art supply store. These are the array of colors I've purchased. They just are the ones that seem most useful to me. Another cool little thing that I'm going to get out of my Shure shoe bag is, so I take all of my markers, and this is just a sample of it, right? So I have more markers than are here. So I go and I take my markers and I do little swatches on them, and I label them to match the label on the top of the marker. And then I can go up to, say, Amanda during tech, and I can be like, hey, what's your hair color? And I can match her hair color to what swatch it is. So there's not any guessing on my part. We don't want to do a lot of guessing. With that, also what I will do is I will take another marker, and when she's wearing her earring, which I can also show more once we put it on, I actually make tick marks of where I want to paint it. Because again, we don't want any guessing. You want to do this once. There's not a lot of time in theater. You don't want to have to redo things.
Especially on the guys, because the guys usually, unless they have long hair, you want to get where their neckline starts and their hairline, ends.
Exactly. And then that's also really great because it also helps, again, with consistency of placement.
Yeah.
So if you have an actor, a lot of times, you guys put on your own mics, 9 times out of 10, they can see, oh, look, it's brown here and it's skin color here. Obviously, the brown should go in the hair. So it's another little tip to help them know where to put the mic.
And because these pens are fairly permanent
Yes.
under the jacket of the cable, so once you color it, it's colored
Yes.
forever.
So with this, you have to make sure you're cool coloring it. There's other ways you can do it, like you can use acrylic paint as well. And then I use that. I usually paint it with acrylic and then go over with clear nail polish. That can come off. That just takes more maintenance during the run because it is able to come off when you're done. It also comes off during the show.
How often do you have to touch it up?
I touch up usually about once or twice a week, depending on how much. If it's a character who just likes standing and singing, maybe not so much. But someone who's like a big dancer and they're sweating a lot more, it's gonna come off
It's got
more.
a lot more through the movement, it cracks.
Exactly. So if you can, if it's cool with using markers and you're cool with keeping your stuff painted, I would always go with markers. But a lot of times, a budget issue, you want to be able to reuse the lavs in multiple productions.
Yeah.
So acrylic's the other way to go.
So how would you clean that paint off if you at the end of the run and you need to clean your mics? What are some of the tools we'd use for that?
Sure. The first thing I do, and this is actually maintenance during the run. So about once a week, you use this great thing called the UniSolve. The UniSolve is great because it actually takes the adhesiveness that from like the tape. So tape residue gets on the mic just from consistent 8 shows a week putting tape on it. So about once a week, you go through with the UniSolve and just clean the entire mic. Something also that's really helpful that I didn't talk about before is these caps. So these caps come off, right? These caps sometimes can get makeup and gunk in them. You want to also, in addition to cleaning the cord, clean out your mic caps once a week. We get canned air for that, and you just shoot canned air right into it, and it gets all those kind of particles. You can also get a jewelry, like a jewelry cleaner, get it on Amazon or any kind of online retailer, or really anywhere, and it will actually, with the water vibrations, vibrate out all the little particles and get into a cap.
Yeah, and on the product plug on the TwinPlex products, you actually get 5 caps in the box. You get 3 presence cap or 3 flat caps and 2 presence caps.
That's perfect because then you can do a rotation so that when you're cleaning them, you can do the cleaning process longer.
Yep.
Than if you only have one, then you're
or
like.
you can just swap the cap out for a new one. The caps are nano coated with the hydrophobic coating, so
Perfect.
that sweat and stuff roll off of it.
Awesome.
So
there you go.
we give you a plentiful, balancing quantity
supply.
of caps.
With
many
that,
caps.
that's actually really, really helpful, guys. Like I go through caps. Like sometimes it's like, oh, I need a cap, and you're out of caps, and it's the worst. So that is good job, guys. The UniSolve, after you UniSolve, make sure that you get alcohol swabs and alcohol swab the cord after that, because the UniSolve is meant to not have things stick to it. So if you just leave UniSolve, you go to tape, and you're like, it's not sticking, because the UniSolve's on there. So make sure you alcohol swab it after.
Awesome. And then the last kind of tool you guys use on cleaning is compressed air.
Yes.
Well.
So a lot of times there's an issue with actors' sweat. Ray, do you want to talk about actors' sweat?
They sweat a lot.
And
Well,
it's
I mean, what happens a lot of times is, a lot of times in a theater, it's really hard to regulate the air temperature in a theater. A lot of times you get on stage, and with stage lights, it can become very hot on stage. And if your character is in a wool jacket, they're sometimes sweating very heavily because they're working really hard on stage. So with that, a lot of times what happens is the sweat will actually come down the line of the mic. from their forehead, it'll follow down the, along the mic line, and it'll wick over on top of the screen of the microphone. So backstage, if the A1 mixer will call back, so-and-so has sweated out, and so the person backstage is, sometimes Steph is called to blow out their caps.
And you know it's sweat out because it sounds like, how do I know that? You know it because it sounds like they're underwater.
Yeah, they're
you
very
have this
dull.
like really dull, like, what is that? It's literally, there's a gob of sweat. So with the invention of canned air, which is great, you can go and blow canned air into the mic. With that though, be careful because it is putting a lot of pressure into the diaphragm of the actual mic itself. And again, these things are a purchase, so you want to try to do longevity of your mic. So with that, you don't want to spray canned air directly into the mic. I usually either do it from behind, so you're not going, or get a piece of cotton, like a cotton swab, and put it over it and then spray through the cotton swab, just to kind of not have it hit the diaphragm so hard. And also make sure when you do that your A1, make sure the mic is muted and make sure nobody is pre-listening to the mic, because it will murder your ears. It is a lot. It is very loud. It's happened to me before, and I throw off the headphones. It's bad.
It's really kind of the only way in a show to clear the moisture out of the microphone diaphragm.
You don't want to do this if you're not. Only do this in mission critical instances, right?
Yeah.
If you're like pre-show and I don't know, one of the actors happens to be sweating pre-show for some reason. I don't know, they splashed water on it or their makeup got into it. Do not do canned air. I would say if you can, swap out the lav and then back at your workbench, clean it off that way. Like canned air is like, oh my God, he's gonna go for the big musical number next and we need to hear him. Like it's that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's start building the rig.
Let's do it.
Let's do the head rig.
Great.
And take us through how
right.
it would mount. And this position is the ideal position.
I think this is like the most ideal position. It's in direct line with the voice and the nasal cavity and stuff. It's what sounds most natural. And ideally that's the best placement for everyone. But in theater you have to juggle the needs of other departments. Many times characters are wearing hats. Yeah. And so, brims of hats coming low and stuff, it hampers that. So we work closely with the wig department and the costume department for coming up with, everyone has a little bit different mic placement in reality. So a lot of times, the wig is swooping over this way, so we can hide the mic underneath. It's a show by show need. It's a character by character need. Yeah. Really. We sort of look at the pictures that the costume designer has come up with, and there's fitting pictures, and we sort of go off of there, and we go, well, that hat is going to require that actor to have, an ear rig. Yeah.
And there's also like an open dialogue, I would say, like things like if sometimes you can be like, hey, that hat's really killing me, because what happens with sound, if you guys don't know, is that with a hat, like if it's a brim, the reflection from the audio is going to hit, and it gets this really. It sounds really thin.
It really causes problems with EQ.
Yes.
And colors the audio greatly.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we'll be like, well, we'll put the mic over here, and if the actor maybe could cock their hat just a little bit, I think we'll be okay. But it really is. It's different for everybody.
It is, and it's like that's another relationship thing. So there's actually two ways, right? So this is one. So if they're wearing a wig, we didn't talk about this before. If they're wearing a wig, you can always attach it to the wig cap itself. That's one way. So if they're wearing a wig, it is the easiest thing because they wear a wig cap. You get hairpins, hairpins, and you can literally attach it with hairpins to the wig themselves. It goes under the wig, boom, done.
It goes between the cap and the wig.
Between the cap and the wig. Yep. Mm-hmm. So that's easy. If they do that, you're like, yeah, as an A2, I'm like, I don't have to do anything. Awesome, brilliant.
As long as they're not doing like 5 wig changes.
Yes, and if they're doing wig changes, so if they're doing 5 wig changes, or more than, even if they're doing wig changes, you can still do that. If they're going from a lot of times wig to natural hair, so they're wearing a wig, and then that's when this would come in. Or if Amanda's doing a show with her natural hair, they're like, we love your blonde hair, we're gonna have you do that. Yeah. That's where this comes into place. Or with guys, right? You can pretty much do this. I've done it on the people with the shortest hair. You can make it work. It just takes some time. So I'm going to show you how to make these. This is what the final product will look like. Again, why I do the floral wire and why I do this at the tip is for directionality. So the first part of this is we're going to have to thread some toupee clips. So these are the toupee clips I was talking about before. So someone with Amanda's hair color, I'd probably use a white toupee clip. And then I would take my elastic and my scissors, and I would cut a piece of elastic, right? So cut a little piece off. And it's on the floor. And now it's not. Okay, so I would also get, we only have right now black elastic. This comes in white as well. So probably if I was going to do a white toupee clip, I would do white elastic just because we want things, when we're trying to disguise these mics, we want to try to not have things like black on white stick out, right? So, okay, so on these toupee clips, there's these little holes right there and there. That's where I'm going to thread through, okay? So I'm going to take the end of the elastic, I'll go through the hole, and I'm going to make a simple half hitch, which is literally just a knot. It's a fancy way of making myself sound important. It's just a knot. So I'm going to do 2 of those. I'm going to double knot it. There's other ways you can knot this. There's other people who do different knots. This one seems to be the easiest, and it works for me. So then that's one side. So now we're going to go take it. We're going to go to the other side. We're going to pull it nice and taut like that. We're going to loop through here. And we're going to do another knot right there and pull it nice and taut. So it's making a nice, it's flexible, but it's still kind of taut, right? So I'm going to do it twice to really secure it. Okay, so now.
Just to be clear,
yes.
the elastic is on the opposite side of the comb teeth.
Yes, and also so these things open up. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it opens up like that. You want the elastic to be on the other side of the arch, if that makes sense. So, and then it clicks in place like that. So now I have this part, yeah? So now I need to cut off this excess. So I'm going to take my scissors, I'm going to cut pretty close to this knot, boom, and boom, okay? The last part, we were talking about longevity of the run. We want things to not break as we go. So that's where our friend, the clear nail polish, comes in. This is one of the best tools. So you take some off, and you're going to put a dab of clear nail polish right on the knot you made. It helps from it fraying, and it also locks the knot in place. Clear nail polish.
Pro tip. It's a pro tip.
Pro tip.
Yes.
And it also smells like a nail salon. It's amazing. Okay, so that is a toupee clip right there. That's how you thread it. I've, fresh out of the baked oven, have some already made. So these are some black ones I've made before we started streaming, okay? So now, that's toupee clips. That is my prep. Mise en place, as the chefs say. That is, it's prepped, it's there, right? So now, I get to, let me get my lav that I just bought. So here is my lav. Brilliant. So, my lav.
TwinPlex lav.
TwinPlex lav.
TS47.
Yeah, with a TA4F connector. So my brand new lav I just bought that I'm very excited about. Okay, so what I'm going to do first, I'm going to untangle it. There we go. Okay. Now, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take the toupee clip. Now, this is what you have to be wary. This is what you have to be conscious of. When I'm putting it in Amanda's hair, you can see her hair parts on the left side. So I'm going to push her hair this way, and I'm going to put the comb of this is not making a lot of sense. I promise it will. Put the comb of this into the part. So you want to make sure the comb is going towards the part. I promise it'll make sense in a second. So, that way, right? Now, if she's parting this way, right, if I was going to flip the hair this way, the comb would go that way. You want to go towards the center of the head. That's the best way to say it, towards the center of the head. So, I'm going to take it. I'm going to pull the elastic part that I just tied, right? I'm going to take it, and I'm going to put the head of the mic through it once. So it does that. Now I'm going to loop it back around. I'm going to do it again. This is so that it can lock in position, because you want the toupee clips, again, consistency of position, you want the toupee clips to stay in position, right? So there's one. Bloop. I usually, on someone with longer hair, I would do about 3. So I'm going to repeat the process again. I'm going to go through once. I'm going to make an S around it. I'm going to go through again.
And the S is basically you're just twisting the wire and the
Yep.
cord.
Yep.
The,
Literally
the
just
mic
going
of the
bloop,
wire
bloop.
so that
Yep.
it
Just
locks
making like a
against
corkscrew.
the thing.
Exactly. Because if you only do one, these things are going to slip back and forth,
Yeah.
and then you're going to lose consistency of position. So, and then I'm going to take one more.
I think usually twice is probably pretty good.
Yeah, twice is good. So through once, make a loop, go through a second time. Boom, there's my toupee clips. Toupee clips are on. So now this is where my floral wire comes in. Any arts and crafts store, literally anyone. Do use, these are called mini dikes, but do use wire cutters on these, because if you use your scissors, it's going to eventually kill your scissors, and then you got to buy more scissors, and that's no one wants to do that. So, wire cutters, boom. Cut a piece, I don't know, yay long. So this, you're going to start it. You're going to do a little loop on the bottom, so it's looping around the cable itself. Then I'm going to now wrap in a corkscrew fashion around the cord. So literally just loop, da-doop, da-doop, all the way up to the head of the mic. So it ends up looking like that. And this is, so now the mic, if I need to bend it down, I can. If I need to bend it up, I can bend it in whatever direction. So at this point, I'm going to get my mini dikes and I'm going to cut off the excess again, right here. And be careful because these wires fly and I've hit people in the face before. It's a good experience. So there you go. Okay, so there's the wire part of it. This is where we're going to come with our fun torture tool. You take your Hellerman sleeve. These things also come in different sizes. These are H15s, H15. They are the size I found that are best for doing this kind of stuff. There's ones that are slightly bigger that are H20s that are good if you're doing anything at the connector, any kind of strain relief or anything at the connector. H20 is good for that. H15s, good for this. And they come in two colors, black and, I don't know what, peach, whatever this color is. So, full Hellerman sleeve, you're going to cut a quarter of it off. So you're taking 3/4 and 1/4, so you end up with 2 pieces, right? You're going to take the longer piece. You're going to get your torture device. You're going to get, I'm using this as lube. You can use, you do actually have Hellerman lube, but hand sanitizer works just as well. This is literally hand sanitizer. You get hand sanitizer. And what's great about the hand sanitizer too is the chemicals in it break down the rubber of the Hellerman sleeve a little bit, so it makes it a little bit easier. And I also guarantee you, you are going to snap about 17 of these. Like, it will snap and it'll get frustrating. You'll be like, this is the worst tool I've ever used. I hate it. Give it a second. It does get annoying, but it promise it'll get better. So, you lube up your Hellerman tool. You kind of wiggle it on there. I find it best once I get it kind of on there enough to kick my 2 thumbnails and kind of shove it on there as such. So I'm having to kind of poke through like that. So I want to get it all the way on the sleeve, just like that. And now very gently open it up. So now I'm able to open and close it, okay? I'm going to take it. I'm going to stick the head of the mic through the Hellerman tool. Do not be scared about putting some of the pressure of the Hellerman tool on the mic. They will be fine. I mean, don't like bang it, but like right now, all the pressure's on it. It's fine. It's not going to break it. So then once you get to this point, I'm going to take my thumbnail and I'm going to scrape the Hellerman sleeve off. Now I told you this is practice, so I'm probably going to mess up. It's going to be amazing. So you pull this off. There we go. So now as I'm doing it, I'm also pulling the rubber with it so that I can get the rubber sleeve over where the cap of the mic that I showed you before actually meets the lav. Because this also helps with moisture prevention. I do know for a fact that Shure does a lot of moisture testing. I saw them with like, they have this synthetical sweat. It's really cool.
It's very expensive. It's called the Sweat Bot.
It's amazing.
Robot
this
for
little
sweat.
thing goes boop, boop, and like hours at a time drops fake synthetical sweat into these mics. It's awesome. But with that being said, still, if you get these Hellermans and go over where the cap is, that's just another preventative measure to keep the moisture out of the cap. So that's step 1, right? So now on top of that, no actor wants to get poked with metal. So this helps them from not getting poked with the Floral Wire. And then also that's 2 folds. So there's step 1. The other quarter of your Hellerman sleeve. Again, you're going to get this ready. You're going to do that. This goes on here like this. Again, same process. It's a little easier because it's smaller. Goes like that. So now I'm going to put the head of the mic all the way through, and I'm going to go to where I made my loop before. I'm going to take it off with my fingers. And this is literally so the actor is comfortable. This is so that the metal does not poke their hair, because no one wants that. So now...
Amanda, do you want that?
No.
Okay.
No one poke
Good
hair.
answer.
So now we have it where this is now completely directional. So that if I'm doing it and I place it on Amanda's head and Ray says, oh, look, okay, great, look, perfect, the thing came off. That's the worst. It's fine. You can just very easily wrap it back around and you can kind of use it and shove it right back into the Hellerman sleeve. So like I said, we're kind of like using a bunch of tools for our best, and sometimes things mess up like that. And
That's critical because a lot of times what I want is the mics, sort of what I call turn the corner, which is instead of pointing directly out, you know, I want it to go with the curvature of the actor's forehead and try to point down.
And that's,
you know?
and then with this,
and yet, you know, keep it tight to their hairline.
and I can
you know?
literally point it down.
Yeah.
And then it's also great. And then what I would do after this is I would then color this whole thing their hair color. Because obviously this is green and that's it. So I would do this whole thing. I would do their hair or where it lays, right? Maybe this is in her hair and that part's on her forehead. So I'd leave this her skin tone and do this her hair color.
Yeah.
So now we get to the part where we're actually putting it. So it's made. Great. Wonderful. Now we get to the part where we actually have to put it on Amanda. So I have this handy tool. It's in my back pocket called a rat tail comb. You can buy this at any beauty supply store. They have ones that are like a bigger metal point. They're better. This is the one I just had now. So, but either one works. So, I'm also really short, so I'm going to step on this apple box, so I'm not super short. So, I'm going to take this, and normally this would be, so in this case, this would be attached to, it would be attached to a pack at this point, right? So they're different connectors. This is a LEMO connector, this is TA4F, not going to work, but in real life it would work. So it'd be attached to this, and then I would probably, if Amanda didn't, if this was just a fitting and she didn't have her costume on, I'd be like, hey, hold this, and she would hold that for me, because she's a nice person. And then, I would take my rat tail comb. Again, her natural part is here. We would first have a conversation of how are you wearing your hair for the show? She's going to tell me she's wearing it just like this. I'm going to say, great. So I'm going to take my rat tail comb. I'm going to make a very clean part right near where her part is. So I'm making a very clean part very close to her scalp. Take my comb, put it in the back pocket. Okay. I'm going to take the comb part of my, actually I put this one on backwards. Hey guys, killing it. Hold on. Let me do this and flip it this way. So I have to turn it around. Because I put it on so that the combs are facing towards her ear, and that's not what we want, as I said before. We want it facing towards the part. So I just flipped it. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to put it into her part, just like that. I'm going to tell her I'm pushing. Pushing, it clips in. Then I'm going to take my comb, and I'm going to continue the process down. So I'm going to go here. And again, you want to make really clean parts, really close to her scalp. Okay?
And you want to put those teeth of the toupee clip like right into the
scalp.
next to
You
that
could
part.
even, I mean, don't like scrape their scalp, don't hurt them. But you want to like, if it's touching their scalp, that's the better, right? And then you do want to say, please let me know if I hurt you. That relationship is very important. They need to be able to trust you. So it's like, hey, let me know if I hurt you. I'm going to do this, and then you say pushing. I usually let them know I'm pushing. Okay, so they know they're not shocked by me. And then everybody has different sensitivities, right? I've had actors who have really sensitive scalp. They literally wince every time I do this. And you go, okay, that's fine, you know. So now I'm going to turn you a little bit this way. So now I'm going to do the back of her head, which is kind of the trickiest, especially with long hair.
I'd say it's pretty much the standard is 3 toupee clips. It
Yeah.
goes 2 on top and then 1 in the back for cable management.
Exactly.
Because you want to try to aim the cable going straight down to their neck.
So I'm going to make a really clean part because I want to get right to her scalp. So I'm going to take this, and there's her part right there. I'm going to take the comb. I'm going to scrape it here. Now this one, I usually, for steady, put my hand, I call it the blessing, put my hand on her forehead and I just push this way to give me something to push against. Otherwise, you're like pushing your head forward, and again, no one likes that. So now at this point, I'm going to grab her hair like this, and I'm going to ask her, can you please hold up your hair? And I'm going to say, ooh, you grabbed my mic, thank you. Okay. So in this case, I don't know, Amanda seems to have great skin, she's fine. I'm going to say I'm going to use Transpore because it's a very simple one, it's probably going to be hidden. So this is always the reason is this is less money than these. So if you can use this on hair rigs, use these. So I use this first, take a little bit off. Make sure her hair's out of the way because that's just painful. So put it here, rub it in, and then so you can drop your hair. Now I flip her hair back over to her natural part. And at this point I say, wiggle your head around, how does that feel?
Great.
Does it feel like you can move around, full range of motion? Great.
Oh, yeah.
And then at this point I would come and look where the mic placement is. And now, then we have, it's mic test time. Amanda would go on stage, I would be on stage with her, and Ray would be doing the mic check, and I would say, hey, do you like placement? And he would tell me.
A lot of times I would call to the stage about if somebody wasn't if they sound a little hollow, we're having to turn their gain up more than others, and I'll say, oh, this person, let's cheat their mic down just a little bit.
So if he said that to me, in this case, I would just say, okay, let me know if I hurt you, because now I'm literally pulling on their hair.
Mm-hmm.
So I hold the toupee clip, and I would just pull the cord a little bit, and that would be what cheating down
and see
is.
now, look, the difference now is it's pointed down versus out, but like it was before.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the placement you want to do. And then a lot of times, you'll take bangs and sort of just curl it over to try to hide it a little bit. But that's
and in this case, if the costume designer was like, I really don't like seeing the tip of the mic, then we would have and maybe we
pull
move it
back
here
and
where her
stuff.
bang suits more.
Yeah, But no hat, that's sort of like an ideal position.
Boom.
Right there.
There it is.
Awesome.
So there's the head mount.
But this character's now wearing a hat. and the brim, and the brim is too low. It's going down, well into the forehead, and it's a very large brim hat, and then the look is amazing. It's what the character needs, but unfortunately, it's not that mic position is not going to work. So,
would you put a presence cap in that situation, like just in an?
I would usually start with what I usually start with is flat caps for all head rigs that are down, and I'll usually put some sort of like boost on an ear rig.
No EQ, right? Not flat appearance.
EQ.
Flat response.
Flat response. Yeah.
So a lot of the mics in the TwinPlex mics has a flat mic that you can a cap that you can put on, and then a presence cap, which gives it like a little high frequency boost.
And I would usually do a presence on usually an ear rig, just because it is so far off
back,
axis.
And you get all the face shadowing.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you said she wears a hat.
Wears a hat. So we at this point, usually we also we haven't talked about this, we usually do mic fittings around the time frame of a show when there's a final run through or around that area, the final dress. And usually we'll go into the rehearsal room and ask the stage manager, hey, we need to grab everyone for about 5 minutes as we're going through this. And we do the fittings prior to the first day of tech.
Yes.
First day of tech is a little bit too hectic for us. We can also, we can craft ear rigs in the rehearsal room and then be like, okay, well, we're gonna finish building this, but we wanna make ear rigs that are custom fit for every single actor that we're using them for. So go ahead and let us please build.
There we go.
Build us some earrings.
So
This
is what one's going to look like when it's done, right? So for the fittings, I don't want to waste the actor's time and build them all in front of her, right? So I want to get kind of a base model that I can then just adjust to her ear in that time, because they need to get back to rehearsal. We got to get back to our stuff. So I'm going to show you how to make the generic one, and then I'll show you how I would customize it to her. So this is what a finished ear rig looks like. So wire, Milliner wire. You take it. I would cut off more than you think you need, because you can always, you can, whatever.
Trim it away.
You can trim it away.
And this has the cloth on
This
it.
is the cloth on it. Cloth, mucho importante, because it's just better. And again with these, so these also fray, so I would, again, at the final product, I do put clear nail polish on the tips of these as well. So I'm going to start here. So as you can see, there's this little divot I have in this one. This is to go right here to kind of lock it in place, okay? So that's what I'm going to start with. I'm going to take my two thumbs. I'm going to make two thumbs, I'm going to make a V. I'm going to squeeze it together, make a nice tight V. If you want, I use these things called jeweler's pliers, which are great because they're not going to damage it. And if you want to make it super tight, you can take the jeweler's pliers and really squeeze it down, right? Or simple needle nose work as well. Just those seem to be a little bit better. Okay, so I made this V, yeah? That's step one. This is going to be the boom part of my mic, okay? The boom length is decided by senior designer. He will tell me, hey, Steph, no, actually, I need to be low profile, so can you make a short boom? Or like...
Aesthetic of these shows greatly varies, if you're doing Rent, everyone is accustomed to seeing the mics, the boom mics. It's a high sound pressure level show. It's a loud show. But versus something like Music Man, where it's a period piece, that might be like, we don't want to see anything. We want to hide everything. So you just sort of weigh in the factor of, well, if we want it to be a louder show, having more presence, having it closer to the mouths helps us gain before feedback, or it's just a conversation that you sort of have with the design team and the director every show.
So
and we should mention that almost exclusively it's omnidirectional lavaliers that you guys use, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So when you pot up 40 channels of wireless mics on a big show, you got 40 omni mics on stage.
Yeah.
And it's a balancing act between gain before feedback.
And this is why
Exactly.
what we call, this is a totally different topic, but this is why we line for line mix. So as few mics open as possible.
Yeah.
Is everything we do in theater. So I would then have a conversation with Ray at this point of being like, how long does a boom need to be? He says, we're doing Music Man, not a long boom. Awesome. So I do the V, I'm gonna make a small, let me show you what I'm doing, sorry. I'm gonna take the smaller end of it and I'm gonna V it back. So I end up making, I don't even know what to call that, but I end up making like that. So this will be the side that goes down with the mic tip, right? Okay, so now that's the front. Now I'm making the actual ear. So I'm going to bend this around. And what's great about this wire is it is very bendable, but also it stays in place. So I tend to not use my own ear as a sample because I have really small ears, and so I usually tend to make these bigger than they need to be because, again, I can trim away. But if I use my miniature ears and then I'm on some guy with larger ears, I have to remake them. So I usually make them bigger than I think they should be, and I'm bending it all the way around, right? I'm just literally thinking of how an ear works. And then I'm coming up. So I'm doing it up because it's going to end up hooking right here. So I'm going to take my mini dikes and I'm going to cut off the excess, right? Again, be generous. Hi, see, told you flies. Be careful with that. So this is the general shape, right? General shape of one right there. This is pokey for actors. Actors don't like pokey. So we take this. I didn't talk about this tape before. This is actually really great. It is, what is it? It's Next Care foam tape, I believe. You can find it again in any drugstore. I used to use moleskin in the past. What I like better of this over moleskin is that it actually adheres to itself better because I don't have to do so much. Like moleskin's just so taut. So
And it's got like a sponge to it.
It has a sponge to it, and that's what's nice. So I cut off a little strip of this, a very, very tiny strip, like maybe, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch, not a lot. Cut off a little strip. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to put it around where the end of the wire is. Right? I'm going to make a little flag to itself. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut off the excess right up to it. I also want this to be low profile. Again, we're in theater. They don't wear mics. You know, it's that illusion. So we want to keep everything as low profile as we can. To double secure this, I get my Hellerman sleeve. I cut off a very small little strip of it. And it's the same game that I did before. I take my Hellerman lube, or my hand sanitizer, and the sleeve. I get it on the Hellerman thing. I take it, and I go right over that tape. And this is just literally just securing it in place more. So now, boom. So now we have that, and now it will not hurt the actor, right? Cool. All right, so now we're at mic fitting.
It's sharp because with the cutters inside,
Exactly.
it makes it a little sharp.
Yeah, it makes
bevel
a pointy
edge,
point.
yeah.
And no one likes that. So now I've made these, and Ray says, hey, you have time. You can go do fittings now. Great.
Yeah.
So I have all of my ear rigs, right? So I'm going to go into fittings. And usually, as a good A2, this is just a little tip, you introduce yourself first. Like, you're going to be with the actor. I'd be like, hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm your A2. Hi, nice to meet you. It's just something. Be friendly with them. Get to know them. Whatever. Okay. So obviously, this is probably going to be too big for Amanda. So I'm going to ask her to hold her hair back. So you can just hold your hair back there for me. Okay. Now, something that's really interesting about ears is either you have attached earlobes or you have unattached earlobes. Attached earlobes are a little bit harder, and you have to use a little more tape because there's not the extra little hook to go under. Unattached earlobes add that extra little ledge. So it's just something to note. So I'm going to put this on her. Clearly, this is way too big for Amanda. So this is where I start fitting. So I'm going to mark where her ear goes down. I'm going to grab it with my hand. I'm going to bend it up, right? So, okay, this is where her ear ends. I'm bending it up. Then I'm going to take my snips. I'm going to cut off the excess. Now, clearly, I'm going to have to do the tip of the mic, the protector again. It's fine. It's how the world works. So we do that. Okay, so now I'm going to try this. And you don't want to cut near their ear. Like, that's just common sense. But just don't do that. So now I'm going to do this. And I'm going to, now, it's still a little too big for her ear, so I'm going to cut a little bit more off. And so you're just...
And by big, you mean too tall?
Too tall. I mean, too, like, so it's really at the... By too big, it's like, I want it to just kind of loop around there, and I want it to feel nice and secure under her ear.
And you'll know pretty quickly when they're not fit properly because they'll be falling off.
Yeah.
That's a dead giveaway to
Yes.
like a misfit ear rig. It's constantly
Laying
falling
on your
off.
shoulder?
Yes.
Yes.
And
yes.
you're like, why is it on the
But
shoulder?
it's usually because they're too big.
Yes. And so smaller is usually better. So then I also want to kind of pinch this to really get into the nook of her ear here. So I'm going to do that. And then you also communicate. You say, how does this feel? Does it feel tight? Does it feel loose? How does that feel for you? Does it feel like it's going to fall off? Okay. And actors will be honest. They'll say, no, it actually feels loose. I'm anxious about whatever. And so I'm going to keep bending it because I really want it to fit.
Actors want it to be secure.
Yes.
I mean, they want to take it, not be dealing with that. They're worrying about their lines
Yes.
and their dance moves and everything. They have a lot to focus on.
So that feels like a pretty well-fit mic. Now, it may feel good now, and then she starts dancing, and she may come be like, Stephanie, it's too, and then we bend it again, right? That's like, that's not like a personal attack. It's just like it's how it works.
Yeah, you have to tweak these things a little bit to get them right.
So now this is a very different shape than what I started with because everybody's ear is different. And that's why the custom rig, as opposed to like one you can get like pre-made, that because you can custom make them, and that's what's so great about these. So at this point, I'm done with my fittings. I'd go back to my shop and I'd make another ear protector.
And that fitting is just for the ear hook. It's just
It's
for
for
the
the
ear
ear
hook.
hook.
It's not. You're not putting the mics on at this point.
I mean, you can, but
yeah,
I mean,
depends.
it depends on your time schedule, right? If it's where like you do the fittings and then next day is tech, because that happens,
Yeah.
you may have it all rigged up and you're just now doing the size of underneath, and that's what you're cutting away.
We're not really supremely focused on actors that we know are going to be in wigs.
Yeah.
We know that they're fit in other wigs, and that there's not too much questions with that. It's when we're dealing with ear rigs.
And like
that
the
we're
head mount
specific-
stuff, you don't really need a fitting for that.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of, it's really
we might
earring
just
stuff.
put those on the actors, and they might be taking, if they're like, oh, we know this actor's, this is their hair, and we might take some quick notes about where their hair is, so we can go into the paint process at that point.
Yeah.
If we know they're in their natural hair and they're not changing it. But again, Steph is right. A lot of times things change in tech. We want to change that person's hair, we want to change that person's hat and wig and stuff, and so we sort of have to go with the flow of those design changes. A lot of times.
So all I just did was re-put on the protector, which I showed before. Okay, so now I have my ear rig made. So now I want to attach the mic to it. So let me grab another mic. And this is a LEMO connector for people who don't know. This will actually fit in this connector. Well, there you go.
And this is a TL45 TwinPlex. Has a little bit thinner cable, really thin cable. Actually,
Yeah, it's really thin. It's great.
1.1 millimeter cable. So if you really need to hide a mic, you might want to.
Yeah.
And it's only available in a LEMO connector.
Nice.
A black tan.
And what's nice is that the head of the mic is still the same size. That's great.
It is. It's very nice.
So let's untangle it. Okay, so now with the earrings, I do also use Tibay Clips. I will show why in a little bit, but that's the first step of this. So with the Tibay clip, you got to be aware of what side of the head they're going to wear the ear rig on. This one, it's going to be the right side. You always think with Tibay clips, always to the center of the head. So I want to go up. So that's what you have to be cautious of. So if it's going to be on that side, I want it to go up. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to loop through again, just like I did on the other one. And now think of it this way. If it's going to be on the ear rig, this is now going up towards the center of her head. Okay. This is a very similar technique to the head mount. I'm going to cut off a quarter. I'm going to leave 3/4. I'm going to lube up my Hellerman. There we go. Oh, my thing came undone again. There we go. Real world, guys, real world. Okay. And then I'm put it on here. Again, the bigger, the longer the Hellerman you are, the more difficult it's going to be. It just takes practice. That's the best I can say. It's just, you're going to snap yourself. You're going to hit yourself in the face with it. It's the worst, but I promise, it's great. So you're going to take I don't worry about doing any clear nail polish on this because it's going to be covered up, excuse me. It's going to be covered up by the Hellerman itself, so I wouldn't even worry about the fray on here. It's fine. You can cut it off if it's going to be annoying to you, but it's going to be covered up. So have my tip of my mic. Going to line the tip of the mic up where the cap is with the end of my ear rig. Same technique. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to stick the wire and the tip of the mic in there. Again, I'm going to put the pressure on. It's okay to do that. Get my thumbnail. Again, this will take practice. It's definitely something that you're going to be like, oh, I failed a lot at it. Yes.
It's like you're feathering the open and close while you're pulling it too.
And so what you're doing, once you get to this point, what's really great, so we get there, you can kind of, like you said, and you're pulling it almost elastic to get over to, I didn't do it well, okay, so I didn't do it good on this one. But the idea is that this would end up covering up the tip like it did on that one, right? So that's the idea of it. I'm going to leave it alone now for time, but the idea is that this ends up covering that up. This would totally be acceptable as well. It's just if you want better, it would cover
And it's
that
a fine line because you don't want to cover up any ports on the mic.
Exactly. Yes. So it's
And
literally
on TwinPlex, it's on the side as well. So.
right there. But this again is if you're going to go on one way or the other, do this over covering up too much of the ports.
Yeah, because then you'll get a different frequency.
It's really close. At the same time, you don't want to cover up pulling the cap.
Exactly.
Right.
So then I'm going to take the other quarter that I cut off. And you can see sometimes I use lube, sometimes I don't. It just depends on, if it's annoying, use lube. So then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to put another rubber band right where I started that V. And same idea, I'm going to pull it off with my finger. And there we go. Push it back here. and it's going to be right where that V is. So now I have a second one, okay? Third part, this is a little weird. You're going to unbend it, which seems weird and you shouldn't do it. It's okay. You're going to take the boom, and you're going to push it. This is so that you don't have to open up your Hellerman sleeve, because you will break it. So bend it so it's like that, and I'm going to open up the rig a little bit. I'm going to cut off probably, I don't know, half of it. I'm going to lube up my Hellerman again. I'm going to go on. There we go. Okay. Now, I'm going to turn the ear rig upside down. I'm going to open this up carefully. So you're going to kind of use the rubber band, the part of the Hellerman that's to like push against it, because this is how you don't have to open it up more, because it will snap. Push down, and you're going to kind of gently shove it through there. You'll probably also, I've poked many fingers with these things, like it literally just takes practice. So you're going to go here, and you're kind of using the sides of the rubber band to get it through here, and now you're through, right? And you're going to do one right there. And again, same technique with your fingernails. Pull it off, pull it off. Step, same, you're literally doing the same thing again. Cutting a little bit off, moving it up, getting it on here, thumbs pushing down, upside down, open it up a little bit, get the head of the mic through, pushing against the rubber, kind of wiggling it through. Again, like I said, this does take practice. It's great. People are watching me, and it's being annoying. It's the best ever. So there we go. Okay, there it is. It's going through now. Okay. And you're kind of wiggling it through. And now you're going to do this one further down. You're going to do it about there. So you end up with 3 small ones and 1 big one. Then at this point, you take your boom, and you're going to put it back in place. So that is what the finished product will look like. Right? So now...
Should we clap on that? Should we clap on that?
Woohoo! So now we're going to, since it is the same connector, they're both LEMO, we're going to attach it to the amazing ADX1M, which, guys, these are really great. I have to say, I'm using them right now in a musical, and they're the deal. They're really, really great. So I would say, hello, Amanda, can you hold this for me?
Yes.
Because she is, it's, I don't know, first day of tech, and most of the time, the mic is their base layer of their costume. So they will not be in costume, and maybe her mic actually sits like in her bodysuit because in theater, you put the mic placement, there's mic belts, and then sometimes it goes, they make a little pouch in a bodysuit. So she's gonna hold it, she's in half wig and makeup, it's great. So I'm gonna say, can you hold your hair for me? And she's gonna hold her hair up here for me. And I'm gonna take it, and I'm gonna secure it to her ear. And again, don't be afraid to like manhandle her ear. Obviously communicate, you know what I mean? And be like, hey, does this hurt? How does it feel? And then I'm gonna take, so that's part 1. Then I'm gonna take her toupee clip. And this really works on guys well too, because their hair's, guys with short hair, let's be clear. Because what you can do is you can go right up into I'm gonna have you turn a little bit so they can see. So I'm gonna go
Right in the nape of their neck.
right there, right? And then I'm gonna do my blessing thing again. I'm gonna say pushing, I'm gonna push 2 sides of it right in. Okay, and then this is where I was saying the tick mark thing, right? So clearly this is her hair color, this is her skin color. I'm gonna do a tick there that says this is where and there, saying that part needs to be the brown color or whatever, right? Okay, so she's gonna stay here like that for me for a second. This is where my Tegaderm and SkinPrep come in. On ear rigs, I always use Tegaderm. You can use a Transport, this just works, my experience, way better. So I'm gonna get some SkinPrep. I'm gonna shake some of the excess off. I'm gonna pull her, and I'm gonna say, I'm gonna prep you. It's called prepping. So I'm gonna prep you. I'm gonna put this here, and I'm also gonna put some on the back of her neck. Because let's say she is now an actress with really sensitive skin, and I'm gonna use the rolled Tegaderm. Always use SkinPrep with Tegaderm. So now I'm going to fan it off. Don't blow on it, because that's just weird. Like, you don't need that relationship. So I usually just fan to try to like make it dry off, right? You'll know it's dry when, obviously it's not, but then you can actually feel it be sticky. You'll be like, okay, we're dry, we're sticky. Because if you try to put it when it's still wet, it's not gonna stick properly. So now I take the Tegaderm. There's a back side that has like logos on it. That's what you peel off. Peel that off so it ends up with this paper and this. You're gonna take the straight edge of it, and that's the part that's gonna go towards her ear, right? So it's gonna go right there. I'm gonna stick it down nice and securely. Then this paper is gonna peel off just like that. And as you do it,
you have to do this several times to get this touch.
oh yeah, it's the best. And it's the best when like you're like a sub A2 and you're in, and the person's like, it's a good time. So That gets down there.
Stephanie's making it look too easy.
Yeah, kind of.
It goes, so that just kind of peels off. And again, like, I've gone through so many of these, like, because once it hits the air, it can't get on itself, so it's fine. You're going to mess up. It's going to be great. Okay, so that's the ear
You're going to
part.
have to try it several times.
So let's say she's sensitive skin. She can't use the Transpore. She's going to use the roll Tegaderm. So I will have pre-cut, I don't know, like 2-inch strips. They're actually labeled where there's like a little 2. I don't even know it's actually 2 inches, but it's a 2 on it. This works where, again, the logo, you can peel off that, and it ends up with a strip that looks like that, right? So I'm going to take it. And this, again, it wants to, like, just, it'll be a fun game. So you go on the back of her neck, right here. And I'm going to go boom and boom. You straighten it off, and then these two literally come off just like this. And then I push it down more. And I say, you can now drop your hair. And then she's going to turn this way. And now she has an earrig on. There we go. And now see, now you can see what happened is that her earrig, it's pointing out a little bit, which could be a problem if, like, she's dancing and it gets snagged on something. So in this case, I would actually take it, even though it's already taped, and just literally, I'd be like, let me know if I hurt you, because I'm really close to her ear. Bend the wire in a little bit. See, and now it's closer to her skin.
Yeah.
So as long as you're with communication with them and say, you know, I'm going to be touching your ear, I'm going to be near your face, like, it's usually good.
You do not want the lav to be sort of pointing out, and that's what happens a lot of times in ear rigs.
Yes.
You know, a lot of times also we'll use the Tegaderm on guys because the 3M stuff, it's got a opaque white sort of look, and so on. And guys that have short hair, you can really see the mic tape.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the Tegaderm, it just looks like clearer and cleaner.
We also use it a lot of times. We just did Mamma Mia, and those guys are all shirtless there. And so we did it where, like, because you know, if they're shirtless, the wire, like you're seeing it on the back, when they're doing back flips and all this weird dancing gets snagged. So we actually use the Tegaderm strips, and we'll cut bigger strips and literally do Tegaderm, like, in strips down their back.
Yeah.
At, like, different parts of, like, their meaty part of their back. So that can help that a lot, too.
Because they don't want to see the cables
Exactly.
coming down their
And then
back.
also, like, for security of the mic on top of that.
Yeah.
So, cool. Yeah, that's the earrig.
There's different solutions for every sort of, like, you know, obstacle in theater. There's also times like they've also done things where, like, if there is someone who's shirtless and you can clearly see, like, there's one time this guy was wearing a primary mic and a backup mic and was shirtless, and so we actually attached elastic into his pants that was attached to the cable. So when he would, because a lot of times you can't, like, it's difficult miking up all the way up their back, because then if they stretch, they can't actually, like, bend properly. Mm-hmm. So it was a cable management thing of having a tautness on their mic cable the whole time, and yet when they come back up, it would sort of pull the cable flat to their back. You know, we didn't talk about double mics.
Oh, double miking.
Double mics. You know, the real reason for double mics is because a lot of times a lead actor just does not have time to get off stage to address the issues, and they have, you know, critical numbers in the show. So, you know, if they have mic issues, you quickly go to the backup rig, you know, and a lot of times the A2 backstage, the mixer might ask the A2, listen to both rigs, listen to both mics, and tell me which one's sounding better at this moment, you know, because they're sweating.
And they're completely separate. They're different packs, different lavs, completely separate rigs.
Yeah, they're completely separate systems.
So this is actually going to be counter of what I said before, but I actually use tape for double rigs because we want them, again, to be as low profile as possible. So what I do on these is I'm going to set them up completely side by side. You want them to be, also, there's been instances where I do them differently, where I did a show where there was these two ladies and a lot of them were in hats. So we actually did a double rig. One was here and one was here, because they could, in the show, switch between hat and ear. Ear, hat, you know, no hat, oh, one to sound better. Ear, okay, we got to do that.
And that was just well, so they could double mic them for security.
Yes, exactly.
But also for design choice of,
exactly,
like, this hat is killing us in this moment.
Yep.
And they're an important of character that we can allocate the resources to them, you know.
So in this case, the one I'm about to make, this is one where it is strictly a backup. They're in the exact same position. Again, consistency of placement. You want to make sure that these are exactly the same, right? This I actually use tape for because it just makes it lower profile. This is just something I found that works better for me. So I will take, usually it's E-tape, but this is what I have right now. So I'm going to take this I'm going to use the chair as an example. I'm going to just tape it. This is literally just so that I have something to stick it to, right? I'm going to take my Tegaderm. Oh, this is also good. I didn't show this. Tegaderm comes like this. It actually comes in this pack, and you actually open it up like that, and it comes out just like this. It's meant for medical again. There's this little like paper. That's where you want to cut it, because otherwise you end up with a little piece of paper, and then you're necking at the actor's ear, and it's just not a good experience. So you want to make sure you do it where that is. So I take these, and I cut them in half, right? I take out the back as if I'm going to put it on an actor, but I'm not. I'm going to take my mic, I'm going to put it on the mic like this, and I'm literally going to roll it around the mic. This does take maintenance. The Hellerman would be less maintenance, but it also makes it bulkier. So I go all the way around, and this also makes it look clear and seamless. So I would do this, and now you don't even see that it's, like, you don't even see the tape.
So you usually do it at the top, but then do you Hellerman for like?
No, I do this all the way down.
To the
all the way down.
neck.
Yeah, it's this lasted. I did it like this, and this lasted. I had a 3.5-month run, and it lasted the whole time. Now, if you're doing a lot, like I would probably redo this. Like if I'm going to do like cleaning it once a week, I'd probably redo this once a week. But if they're important enough character, sure.
Right.
You know, you're not doing this every mic. You're doing it to the lead actor. You know
If you're doing an ear rig, though, it's just double applying both at the same time.
Exactly. If I'm doing an ear rig, it's the same idea. I'm just
instead of
putting
one
both.
mic, it's two.
Yep. But this is how, I'm not going to do this over and over, but that's the idea. I just tape it all the way. And you could, like I said, do this with Hellerman all the way down, and that's totally acceptable. It's just the way that I like to do it this way.
It gets bulky.
Yeah.
And when we're having two lavs on, on a critical character.
And then I would also, like I said with the other head mount, I would actually keep these, I would wire these up as if they were, so you treat it as if it's one mic. So I would actually do the Floral Wire together. So now this whole thing moves as one unit. So if one goes down, if this one gets sweat in it, the theory is like if something breaks or this one gets sweat in it, the theory is that this one won't. So that then you can switch back and forth.
Yeah.
So that's the double rig.
And again, like we've discussed in the past, like, well, do you want to have that spare someplace completely different? Because this one, what if it's sweating out? The other one, why wouldn't the other one sweat out? You're weighing many factors of what that actor is doing during the show and their their wigs and their hats and stuff.
We actually did a show where we had a really, really sweaty actor, Jungle Book. We had that really, really sweaty actor, and we had him double rigged, and it actually was fine. One did sweat out, and the other, and we actually used, we had two different types of mics on him, and so one was more sweat resistant but didn't sound as good, and the other one was less sweat resistant and sounded better. So we had the A one be the one that was less sweat resistant, so when that one got sweat in it, we could switch to the one that was less sweat resistant.
Yeah. And there's you sort of have to experiment with, even though we talked about keeping the mic right, onto the actor's skin. Sometimes, sweat actors, you want to pull it away from their skin, or you want to build in some sort of
I can show that.
Something that is going to grab the sweat before it hits the screen of the microphone itself, because that's usually what the sweat out is it's wicking over the screen.
Like we could do something where this is for that actor. We did this where you take a little piece of this tape. And again, you want to keep it as low profile as possible, so cut a little guy. And then, like, at the tip of the mic. And again, Shure does a lot of testing with there, so this may not be an issue. But sorry guys, I've kind of made a mess over here. So here we go. Where you would get the tip of the mic and you take the tape and literally just wrap it around here, so it gives it that millimeter of, and again, make sure you don't cover up like I just did. Cover up any of the holes. But a millimeter of separation between the skin and then the mic.
Yeah, you're trying to have the sweat, fall off before it hits the front of the mic screen.
Great.
Cool.
Any closing remarks on sound for theater and everything we talked about?
It's tricky.
It's tricky, and it obviously takes practice.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get all this stuff overnight by watching an hour webinar, but hopefully we point you in the right direction in terms of with the tools you need, the typical mounts you might run into.
This is a good starting place, I would say, but there's some times where it's just you have to sort of experiment a little bit.
Yep.
And sort of come up with new ideas and adapt to each situation that's different.
And something for me, and I say this a lot with all the sound things, like this is what has worked best for me. Like,
Right.
I find that this is the best technique for me. You guys may do it and be like, that was real dumb. I like this way better. Great, do it. Like, it's just, this is what I like the best.
It's just about
Yeah.
it's about consistency, and it's about, you know, and clarity. Those are the things that we strive for.
And at Shure, we like to have really good clarity in our wireless system and really good clarity in our microphones. And hopefully, with the solutions we have now, with Axient Digital and TwinPlex microphones, it's making your job easier.
Yeah.
Everything I've heard from the industry is it's an amazing solution that bringing the audio bar even higher than where it was.
Exactly.
And you can obviously visit Shure.com for more information, right, Cheryl?
Yeah, we want to thank you guys so much, Stephanie, Ray, and Amanda, for joining us. We certainly learned a lot. That was fantastic. If you have any additional questions, you can obviously type them in the comments and we'll get to you at a later date. Or you can also always email our application support team at support@shure.com, and they can answer all sorts of questions about any sort of theater miking techniques or put you in touch with the people that might know them better than we do, and we'll get you the answers we need. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this as much as we did, and we hope to see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.